kids. Heidi here. Welcome back. I went for beachy waves, but I think the surf is up today. That's pretty bad. Anyway, it's Tuesday, and I have more tips. Today's Tuesday tips are eBay for Poshmark sellers. I frequently read comments or hear people say or message me, I would like to try eBay, but it's too scary. Or I want to go on eBay, but there's so many scams. Or I want to be on eBay, but I don't understand shipping. Or. First, there's a lot of reasons why eBay is a great platform to sell on. And there are a handful of reasons why it's difficult. But really, no different than any of the other things you've learned in life, in work, or at home. I think that if you can order a pizza on Domino's app and get it just the way you want it, with extra cheese and less sauce and spicier and baked longer and cut in squares and delivered to your house, you can use eBay. I mostly work on eBay on the desktop, but I use the app too. The app is great for buying. It's not as great for selling, but there are many tasks you can do. And yes, you can do the whole thing on the app. But I'm a computer and a keyboarder user before I'm an app user. Although, I can order pizza on the Domino's app. So I just am faster and I'm more sure of myself on the desktop. But whichever way you go, I would just like to offer some tips, my experience. I started selling on eBay back in 2017 in the fall, and I started on Poshmark early in 2018. So I've been using them both about the same period of time. And yes, I understand how Poshmark simplifies things, but that simplification also comes with some downsides. They're getting better. They've made improvements. And I'm not here to argue eBay over Poshmark, but if you want to expand your market, if you want to list your items in more places so that more people see them and you make more sales, then of course you're going to want to try another platform. So I have some tips for you. My first tip, should we talk about scams first? Because that's what everybody seems to be like. There's so many scammers on eBay. I haven't had an attempted scam since my first couple of months on eBay. And a certain type of scam tends to focus on new sellers. So there's kind of like 4 types of scams. I'm sure there's more. But the first one is where you list something for $30 and somebody sends you an offer for $40. Why would anyone do that unless they had nefarious intentions? You just, ignore it or decline it or block the buyer. Whatever you want to do, just don't accept the offer. Okay? Another one is similar to Poshmark. Someone will message you saying, oh, my internet isn't great and I can't see the whole listing, so could you send me pictures to this email or this phone number? And they disguise the email or the phone number so that the bots that are searching on those platforms will find them and take them off. But if you get a message that says, contact me off the platform, you delete it, you report it, you ignore it, but you don't respond to it, okay? Easy. So those first 2 types of scam target new sellers, new account holders, new sellers, and they're very easy to deal with. You just go, I wish I knew why that worked, but you delete it. You don't get upset. You don't take it personally. You don't think, the world is full of danger. Well, don't watch the news. Anyway, those 2 scams are easy to deal with. A third type of scammer is, this can happen on any platform, is someone who buys something from you and wants to return it, but they think in order to get a return, they need to lie. So they say that it's damaged. They say that you measured wrong. They say that this couldn't possibly be an extra large. It's more like a size 4. They'll concoct a story in order to get the platform to approve their return. And that's a scam. When you get the item back, of course, it's exactly like you described it. But the best way to deal with those types of scams is just accept the return. If somebody has to lie, they really want to return it. And they think they have to lie to get it returned. And that's true on Poshmark because you can't return for fit. On eBay, People always say eBay always sides with the buyer. On returns, mostly, yes, they do, because they want buyers to return. So they want an unhappy buyer to get made happy so that they will continue to shop on eBay. So if you don't accept returns on eBay and someone buys something and they spend $40 of their hard-earned money and it turns out it just does not fit, they want to send it back, but you don't accept returns, so they make up a story and eBay accepts it and you get the item back. Okay, sell it again. So if you choose not to accept returns on eBay, you might get more returns of the type that's called item not as described. Unfortunately, if you get too many of those, eBay will reduce your seller rating. And I've only had buyers like that lie 3 or 4 times in 6 years. No big deal. I just accepted the return. Now, I do accept returns. Not only that, I offer free returns, which means I pay the shipping to return the item. I do that so that I can get top rated plus status and a reduction in my fees. I pay not 13.5, not even 12, but about 11.2% in fees if I don't advertise or promote. So that's a big savings, and it's worth getting a couple of returns a year or 6 years. So that kind of scam where a buyer lies to get a return, you can either just accept it and know that there'll be few and far between, and you can sell the item again, or offer returns. Buyer pays returns. Sometimes people will assume you don't have returns and they'll make up a story anyway. They won't go on there and say, I'd like to return it because it doesn't fit, or they really don't want to pay the return shipping. So you still get them. And that's just a part of being in business, right? We can't make things totally risk-free if we want to be in business. The fourth kind of scam is where, this has never happened to me, but someone buys something from you and they already have one that's worn out, damaged, or broken. They buy the better thing from you, and then they send eBay pictures saying, this arrived damaged, worn out, or broken, and I want my money back. And then they send back their old, damaged, worn out, or broken item and keep your nice new one. It happens with electronics, it happens with games, it happens with clothing, it happens with handbags. Worse scam, somebody says they want to return it because it's defective, and then they send back an empty box. Now, those kinds of scams where you can show, these are the photos of what I sent to the buyer, the ones in your listing, and this is the photos of what I got back, the ones in your listing, the ones that you take new pictures of. eBay will not side with the buyer, or they'll side with both of you. They might let you keep your money and they might refund the buyer. So when the buyer is being blatantly, you send them a nice clean blazer and they send back a blazer that sort of looks like your blazer but is worn out, full of holes, or damaged, they will understand what the buyer's trying to do. They know more about scams than we do. So eBay has sided with me on several returns where the buyer was flagrantly scamming. Okay, so eBay does have seller protection for certain kinds of returns. So my best tip, if you want to avoid painful returns, is maybe offer buyer pays returns. Then if the buyer definitely doesn't want to keep it, they know up front, if I want to return this, I'm going to have to pay to send it back. They'll do that, and you won't get scammed. But I don't believe there's any fewer scammers on eBay than there is on Poshmark, percentage-wise. So my tip is offer returns if you want to avoid most of the scams, and ignore all those goofy ones where people say they want you to send them a text or an email or call them. No, just delete them and move on. Okay? So we're not afraid of scams on eBay anymore. You know, I just want to share something with you. You probably heard about most of your scams on eBay on social media, because people love to share scary things on social media. So you have heard most of your horror stories about scams on eBay on social media, and nobody puts up the things that are great. I've had 1,501 feedbacks since I started selling. That's a little less. That's between 25 and 30% of my sales over those years. Super fast shipping and exactly as pictured. Thank you. Thank you very much for the item. Received without a problem. The crewel kits are wonderful. I can hardly wait to work these two lovely designs. Sweet memories. Happy with everything. Great. Beautiful shirt. Linen shirt was perfect. Clean, crisply ironed, and in very good, if not like new shape. Just what I needed. Thank you so much. Item was just as described and exactly what we wanted. Seller was great. The top was unique as it was described, reasonably priced and had arrived in no time. I'm pleased with the entire transaction. So that's just some of my feedback in the past month. No scams in the bunch. Don't be afraid. Okay, we've put the scams behind us. My first important tip, other than scams, is shop for and then buy something on eBay. If you've never shopped on eBay, I think you should. And pay attention to your buy experience. Maybe what you purchase should be poly mailers because you're going to need some, because most of your sales will not ship priority on eBay like they do on Poshmark. You'll mostly just be shipping Ground Advantage, and so you'll need some poly mailers. Buy them on eBay. Pay attention to how the experience works, how you determine how much shipping is, where it's displayed. Are there choices? Can you put something in a cart and then check out later? Do you have to buy it now? Can you make an offer? Look around at the shopping experience. Either buy yourself a fabulous handbag or some poly mailers and see how the experience works. You need a scale and some sample packaging. You do need a scale. Eventually, you're going to have to weigh your package on eBay because what you're charged for shipping depends on what the item weighs and where it's going. It's better to know up front. I've nagged on that before. But what I do when I weigh the package, I have a poly mailer here. And inside the poly mailer is the plastic bag that I used to store in. And then I put a label on the front. So this is the whole weight of the packaging. And then I just got a coupon for Goodwill for 25% off. Sorry, I got to go shopping now. No, I'm kidding. I'll stay here. I weigh this with my item on my scale, and then I can put that in my listing. If you don't put it in your listing, you have to do it when you buy your shipping label, and I hope you're not shocked and surprised at what it costs. You need to create at least, tip number 3, you need to create at least one shipping policy. A shipping policy is how fast you'll ship, what shipping service you'll use, whether that's Ground Advantage, Priority, Media Mail, etc. Who pays and how much. If it's buyer pays calculated or buyer pays a flat amount, seller pays a flat amount or seller pays calculated. For you, a beginner, I would choose calculated Ground Advantage. There you go. Buyer pays, calculated Ground Advantage, and how fast you're going to ship, that's up to you and your lifestyle. The faster you ship, the happier your buyer is because they go, oh, it's here already? They're predisposed to love what they get before they even open the package. I ship in one business day, which is Monday through Friday, excluding holidays. Saturday and Sunday don't count. If somebody buys on Friday, I must ship by Monday. If somebody buys on Saturday or Sunday, I must ship by Monday. If Monday's a holiday and they buy on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I must ship by Tuesday. That's one business day. Okay? Tip number 4. After you sell your first item, you will have access to something called Seller Hub. You can't get Seller Hub until you've sold one item, and then you become a seller. Seller Hub is your central operating menu. It's like your home landing page for selling, where you would draft and listings and end items to reach to processing your shipping, your returns, your payments. Everything is in Seller Hub. Poke around in there and learn it. Get to know it. Many tasks on eBay have more than one way to get there, and don't let that throw you. They're just trying to cover all the bases. So poke around and see what's available once you get Seller Hub and you sell your first item. Tip number 5 for you Poshmark folks. Don't assume that certain items sell better, faster, or for more money on one platform or another. I list most of my items on both eBay and Poshmark, And I'm frequently surprised, oh, that's sold on Poshmark? I thought that would sell on eBay. You just don't know. The only things I don't list on Poshmark that I do list on eBay are lower items, lower priced items that maybe I got them in a ThredUp box and I'm trying to get rid of them. Maybe they're my personal items and I'm trying to get rid of them. Maybe I'm just marking them way down. But the Poshmark fee with that minimum $2.95 for some items, what I'm going to get out of it, it's just not even worth it to list it on Poshmark, okay? And the price is so cheap that I'm asking, who wants to pay $7.97 for shipping on Poshmark rather than $4.99? Okay, so some items I don't even bother with Poshmark because of the fees and the shipping cost relative to the value of the item. But I would assume, I've sold a lot of home goods on Poshmark. I've sold craft kits. You just never know. Tip number 6 on eBay, avoid being out of stock. How do you become out of stock? Well, when you're selling one-offs, you either lost it or you sold it on another platform. Avoid being out of stock on eBay. eBay will punish you with higher fees. A lower seller rating means fewer views. I know that they give top-rated sellers higher search results. I'm positive. Otherwise, why would they rate sellers? And eventually suspension or termination if you're out of stock too many times in a 12-month period. So how to avoid being out of stock? You have to learn to avoid selling twice. If you don't use cross-listing software that automatically detects and delists the item from the other platform, then you have to make this your priority. You have to check your sale notifications frequently, and as soon as you get notified that you sold something, the very next thing you do, unless your baby's crying, the very next thing you do is delist it from the other platform. Ooh, I got a sale on eBay. Poshmark, delete the item, okay? Or make it unavailable. That should be your first instinct. Ooh, I got a sale on Poshmark. Go to eBay and end the item, okay? That has to be your instinct. You don't do it later because that thing you've had for 2 years could sell twice in the same day. I used to tell people that I did training to, all of my stories of bad things that could happen actually happened. That's how we know what to do instead. So have I had an out of stock because I couldn't, because I'd sold the item twice? Yes. Have I had an out of stock because I couldn't find it? Yes. And then I found it the next day. So I told you how to avoid being out of stock because you sold it twice. Avoid losing items. Just tighten up your inventory system. If you haven't done an audit in a long time, make sure you have everything all in hand that you're going to list on eBay. I think that you should inventory your audit at least once a year. Inventory your audit. Audit your inventory, which means everything that's in storage, is it listed? And everything that's listed, is it in storage? You cross-check every bin against your listings. And that's how you avoid losing items and being out of stock. It just takes a little work to tighten things up, okay? I already talked about accepting returns. That was going to be my tip number 7. If you pay for shipping, you could eventually earn lower fees, as I talked about, when you get to be top-rated seller. If you ship in one day and you pay for returns, you can be top-rated plus. Don't be afraid. If you had a brick-and-mortar clothing store, wouldn't you accept returns? Maybe not. A store of any kind, would you accept returns? A return isn't personal. It isn't a failure, and it won't cost you a lot of money. But you will get more sales if you accept returns. I'm sure of it. Number 8, ship quickly. eBay likes happy buyers who leave feedback. And when you ship quickly and they're delighted, they're more likely to leave you positive feedback. My most common comment and feedback is, fast shipping. Thank you, fast shipping. Everything was great. Thank you. Perfect. Great seller. I just love my feedback. When I'm having a really bad day, I read my feedback. Speaking of feedback, I leave feedback right away. And I have a standard feedback. Thank you for an easy, pleasant transaction. Hope to deal with you again. And I do that as soon as I ship the item. Why don't I wait to see if they give me feedback? because I don't want to keep checking. Did they leave feedback? Did they leave feedback? Did they? I don't have time to check. I don't even know if I know how to check. I give positive feedback when the item ships. I get positive feedback on about 30% of my sales, 25 to 30%. I had 100% positive feedback for my first 5.5 years, and then somebody had a bad day and left me a negative feedback and said the shirt just was a lot uglier in person or something. Oh well. I don't ever waste time checking out a buyer. If I get an offer, I accept it. I don't go check out a buyer on Poshmark either. I'm not good at profiling buyers. Somebody that's brand new could have come from Google Shopping. They have no background. Somebody that they might not even have a good username. It's Quarksy 697 star, Maybe they have one feedback and it's negative, but they encountered a bad person who gave them a negative feedback. They want it, they pay for it, they get it, I give them great feedback. They've done all I ask them to do, which is buy my thing and pay for it. I don't assume they're fraudulent. I'm not renting them an apartment. I'm not dating them. I'm selling a sweater. And if it doesn't work out, we just part ways and move on. So I leave positive feedback right away. And if the buyer sees that, they'll go, oh, well, that's nice, thanks. And then they get their item in 3 days and they thought it'd be a week and they go, wow, that was fast. They're more likely to like the item, be happy with their purchase, and leave me good feedback. So if you're waiting to leave feedback until you make sure they do a good job being a buyer, I think you'll wait a long time. Number 10, I'm going to insert some video here that's showing me creating an eBay listing and talking about item specifics. People say, oh, there's so much to fill out on an eBay listing. There is if you want there to be. And I will explain why you might want there to be, and you might not. But I'm going to deal with those dreaded item specifics, all those details. What's the theme? What's the character? What's it made of? How do you wash it? What country is it from? We'll talk about that in this video right here. I'm going to show you an eBay listing drafted, and then I'm going to show you a Vendu listing drafted and where you can get the extra eBay stuff to fill out if you choose to. Okay? Right here. Okay, my plan here is to just walk you through one eBay listing, and then I will go over to Vendu and draft a listing over there if you're someone who uses Vendu. And I just want to take away all the scary parts of an eBay listing. I apologize if my mouse makes tapping sounds. That's something I haven't been able to figure out how to avoid when I am repositioning my mouse. So here's my big red cursor. Here's my eBay Seller Hub. I am on the Listings tab, and I'm going to click Create Listing. A single listing. So it opens up a draft, and it first says, tell us what you're selling. And I'm going to draft a listing for a cool men's Dillinger flannel shirt. It's a size, let's see here. I'm trying to actually do a real thing, so it's a brown plaid. And I just hit enter, and it's trying to find a match, and it did, but I don't care. I don't care about matches. If I were selling brand new DVDs and it pulled up something from their catalog or another seller, I could use that match and already a lot of stuff would be filled in. But I don't like to do that even when it finds a match, because other people might not do a listing to the same quality that I do. I do sometimes choose listings for sold products, but never listed products. If it was a good listing, it would have already sold, right? So I'm going to do my own. Again, these are all just my opinions, my habits, my practices. Once you understand eBay, you can go ahead and do whatever you like. Select the condition. My item is pre-owned. Continue to listing. So now it actually pulls up a draft. There's a place to upload photos. I'm on my computer, and generally my photos are on my phone, but I can upload photos from the mobile app if I choose to. What else can we put in here in the title to give us some more keywords? Outdoor. It is button front. You don't have to fill out the whole title, but eBay says it's a great idea. eBay also says it's a great idea to use as many photos as you possibly can. It is a size XL. The theme, outdoor, that's fine. Theme is not that important. So I have in my spreadsheet all my details because I record each item I buy in a spreadsheet. Where is my cool shirt? So that I can fill in the accurate things here. So my SKU is custom label SKU. This is something that's hidden from the buyer. So mine is, the first 4 digits is an inventory number. Next is the date I purchased it, and then my cost of goods. I'll break it apart here so you can see better what that looks like. You could have your SKU be anything you like. It could say under the bed, or it could say paid $3.99 at Goodwill, or it could have an inventory number, or it could say on the rack in the closet. The SKU is hidden from the buyer, so put in there what's useful to you. Mine is all of these items. So I know based on the date, if it's really old, I might accept a cheaper offer. If I didn't pay much for it, I might accept a lower offer. But if I paid like $18, I'm going to say, no, I need more. eBay automatically pulls up the item category that it thinks you want based on your title. And this is something when I draft in Vendu, I noticed that it doesn't always do. So that's taking me some getting used to. But if you're not using a cross-posting service, you're going to draft directly in eBay. It shows casual button-down shirts this is my store category of men's shirts. If you don't want to use your own store categories, don't worry about it. Cool is the brand. It filled that in automatically. It is a regular size type. It's not a big or tall. And the size, I have to go back to my title. I've forgotten already. The size is regular. Come on. XL. There we go. And the sleeve length is long sleeve. Now notice these are all required item specifics. And these correlate to left-hand filters. I will show you in a moment. It's a button-up, it's flannel, it's plaid. eBay fills in a lot of things for you. It closes with buttons. Outdoor theme. Here is the show more item specifics. So these are all optional, but these are required. These are optional. And then if you do show more, there's a lot more optional. And I will explain to you that optional features, optional item specifics, as we call them, can show up in the left-hand filters when a buyer is searching for the item they want. So if yours is very important to a buyer and they might filter on it, then fill it out. If it's not important, like does the buyer not care if it's a point or spread collar? In flannel shirts, they don't care. But in dress shirts, they might only want spread collars. So if you don't check the collar type on your dress shirt and a buyer chooses a left-hand filter of a spread collar dress shirt, they won't see yours, even if you have a spread collar shirt. So filters are only important if you think the buyer is going to use them to filter by these additional item specifics. So it fills in some, and accents are decorative elements. Features are design elements. So an accent could be beaded, bows, buckles, button, crochet, embroidered fringe. All those things might be very important if your item has that. Accents, that's accents, decorative. Features are, it's adjustable, it's belted, it's breathable, it's waterproof, it's heavyweight, it's hooded, it's lightweight. Design, or, performance elements. By design, I mean, shoulder pads, it's sheer, it's reflective. So if those are important, like to running clothes, reflective might be very important. To golf clothes, they might be looking for something waterproof. If the feature might be important to your buyer, include it in these optional item specifics. But your listing will go up even if you leave all these blank. What comes down below that? We can show less here. So condition, I chose pre-owned when I started the listing, and this little description, whatever you type here, shows up on the first click of your item. So if the buyer sees your item in a list of search results and they click on it, then this condition description will show up. So if you have a flaw, put it here. I typically leave it blank if there's nothing wrong with it, or I'll type great pre-owned condition, or nice vintage condition, or they're all subjective. But if you have a flaw, put it in here and then also in your description. So now we're down to the description box, and I'm going to copy my title, and that's going to be the start of my description. So I'll copy and paste that. Then let's say I had a flaw here, missing one cuff button. See photo. I always take photos of flaws. If I have a flaw here, I'm going to copy it and put it in the description. Sometimes buyers don't read this, but they'll read that. Sometimes they see this, but they don't read any of this. On the app, this whole section has to be tapped on in order to make it visible. So if you only put a flaw in the description and not up here, the buyer might not see it if they're shopping on the app. If it's a serious flaw that has affected the price, I will sometimes go back to the title and put in flaw. Okay, so we're down here in the description. This is the Dillinger button front shirt, 2 button flap pockets, and then my measurements. And I always call the underarm. I don't do pit to pit. I think that's disturbing, but that's just me. But underarm, for women, I just say underarm. But for men, I say underarm chest. Then they know it's the underarm measurement across the chest. And that's 25 inches. The length is 29 inches. And the sleeve is 35 inches. I measure from the center back of the neck. That's how dress shirts are measured, and that if a man knows his sleeve length, he knows it from the center back of neck. He does not know it from the shoulder seam. So I always put center back of neck. And that's all I want to say. Not much of a description there. If you like cool and you like their flannel shirts, you're already going to know about the Dillinger. And if you don't know about the Dillinger, there's nothing special about it other than it has 2 button flap pockets on the front. So what am I going to ask for it? I am going to ask, shockingly, eBay says the median price is $25. I've checked my own comps and I'm going to ask $42. I'll probably get an offer of about $30 and I'll probably take it, but somebody might buy it for $38 or $42. It weighs 14 ounces. I've already weighed it on my scale, have that in my spreadsheet. But if I didn't have it now, I would have it from my photos. Remember, I've told you, Poshmark sellers take a photo of your weight, and then once you see that weight, you can delete it from your photos. But I know it weighs 14 ounces, so the shipping policy I'm going to use is my shipping policy that is Ground Advantage for 12 to 16 ounce packages, 14 ounces. And then, because I don't have photos yet, I'm going to save it for later. My defaults are all filled in here. I do international shipping. I have a free return policy, and those are all, my preferences are all set as default. If I wanted to change them, I could do that right here. The thing with eBay, it's just like, I'd say if you can order a pizza on the Domino's app and customize that you want it extra baked and you want less cheese and you want more sauce and you want it cut in squares and you want jalapeno peppers, but not, what are the super hot peppers? I don't know what kind of peppers you want. If you can customize a pizza on a pizza order on an app on your phone, you can do eBay. Just read what you're clicking on. Schedule the listing. Your listing goes live immediately unless you select a time and date you want to start. Ooh, I'm going to turn on schedule, right? If you read it. Use the sales tax table. There's a link to manage the tax rates for jurisdiction where you may have an obligation. eBay collects all my sales tax now, but I set that up in the tax table. I told it where I live. The shipping policy. You can create a policy that charges what you want to charge for any size package you want to ship, right? So read what you're clicking, do the drop down. Here's promoted. I am promoting this at 11.8%. I can turn that on. I generally don't promote my listings until they've been up a week or two. Then I'll go back and add them to my promoted campaign. So I'm going to save this draft for later. So let's real quickly look at if I drafted that in Vendoo. So here is my Vendoo. That's a different... oh, okay, save the item. Thank you for reminding me. So back to the inventory. Let's do a new draft in Vendoo. So let's say I'm going to bring in, I'm going to list this new cool shirt. How does it look different? Let's do something I've already got drafted, but I don't have an eBay draft for. So let's take this Life is Good t-shirt. I've got a draft in Vendoo, and I want to list it on eBay. What looks different when Vendoo pulls in your eBay draft? Okay, so it tells you what's missing, but there's a little bit more missing than this. You know how to fill in all these. Add a shipping policy, add the type, the color, the department, the sleeve length. But let's go up here. Remember we talked about these are the definite item specifics, the required ones. We need to fill in the color. I don't know why I didn't bring it over. We need to have the type. It's a t-shirt. The sleeve length. It's a long sleeve. Women. So there's all our required item specifics. But remember on eBay when I did show more? Here's show optional fields. And there's all of those extras that I told you. If they're important, add them. If they're not, don't worry about it. This is a solid, but it's got a graphic design on it. So I'm going to say an accent would be a graphic. The theme is outdoor because it's take a hike. So I'm going to add that. It doesn't have any features. It's just a t-shirt. The fit is regular. Handmade, garment care, none of those things matter to a t-shirt. Basic, that doesn't matter. The neckline, it just has a round neck, I think. I should go look at my photos. Oh, it's got a V-neck. Most buyers aren't going to say, I only want a V-neck top, but they might. Some people prefer them. Some people prefer a boat neck. Some people prefer a crew neck. So if they're looking at a lot of t-shirts from Life is Good, they might only want to see a particular kind. You get my point? So let's just save this draft. Shipping policy. It's a little lightweight t-shirt, so I can use my 11-ounce package. And I'm just going to save this. I'm not ready to go live while I'm talking to you. So you can see how an eBay listing looks in Vendoo. You have to do optional fields if you want to see all those extra item specifics where you might add things like neckline, features, it's waterproof, it's wind resistant, it's reflective. Okay? Okay, now we'll go back to our regular rest of my tips. Thanks for watching. Okay, so as I described to you, those extra item specifics correspond to filters. When the buyer is searching, there's left-hand menu filters where they can check things off, and that will narrow their search results. So if a buyer checks off 100% cotton and you didn't fill out that, your listing goes away because eBay's only going to show them the corresponding matching checkboxes, okay? That's why item specifics can be important or can be ignored. If you use sell one like this from another buyer's listing, sold or current, there's a sell one like this button. Be sure you check that all the way through. I have done that a few times because I thought, well, they sold it for great money. I'll use their same listing and I'll sell mine for great money. And they put in some wacky stuff. and I had to clear it all out, or they lied, or it just didn't apply to mine. So much like, and I have a bonus tip, number 11. On eBay, you're much more likely to get punished if you use a stock photo. Companies are much more active on eBay looking for stock photo or copyright infringement. They even hire companies to go out and hunt them down for them, and eBay will punish you. Poshmark doesn't seem to punish sellers as much, or I know they will take them down at the owner's request, but yeah, I don't recommend stock photos on eBay. Some items that you're selling that are brand new, eBay might have in their catalog, and then they offer you a stock photo to use. For example, a movie, a DVD. You might have a new sealed DVD, and they've got that in their catalog, and they say, here's the photo you should use, and you can use a stock photo if eBay offers it to you, okay? So those are my tips. Mostly it's, if you're afraid it's too complicated to learn, think of all the other not that really hard things you've learned, like how to order pizza on an app. And you can do eBay too. Pay attention to what you're clicking on. Read what you're doing, and you'll be fine. It's really, for every increase in complexity, that's an extra benefit for you. I wrote down some of the benefits. eBay has a bigger audience, 130 million active users versus Poshmark's reported 80 million. I don't trust either of those numbers. But we know eBay's bigger. eBay has lower fees. eBay lets you sell almost anything. eBay has excellent reporting, excellent bulk editing, excellent advertising programs. You can pay to promote your stuff higher in search results. You can pay per click, like Google Shopping. You can run sales. You can offer a coupon. You can run a sale on everything or 5 things. You start and stop sales. It's amazing. Coupons. You can see your traffic. You can see how many people have looked at your item in the last 30 days. You can see how many watchers you have. You can send offers to those watchers. You can get sold data on anything on the platform going back 3 years. Yes, you know when it's sold. Poshmark gives you sold data, but who knows when that was. So I'm not saying eBay's better than Poshmark. Poshmark was very good to me last year. And at one point it was up to about 30 or 40% of my sales. Right now I'm not selling anything to anybody, it feels like. But if you want to expand, if you want to diversify, you can do eBay. I promise. I hope you got something out of this. I know that people are... Oh, if you need more information about shipping, in the description I will link the 2 long, very boring videos I made about eBay shipping. There's a part 1 and a part 2, if you can imagine. But I go into great detail about how to set up your shipping policies and how to avoid paying too much for shipping and all of that. So I hope this is what some of you have been asking for. More info about plunging into eBay. Just do it. What's the worst that could happen? You might sell something. I had fun. Bye, kids.